tolerant people to host this particular meeting. It's a great day for me to come to very basics. In the last 50 years of my being attached to the specialty of gynecology, I can say that, there is a gap between the best practices and the actual practices. And the best practices are not always implemented by each and every doctor in the country. And that is why there is a lot of variation as far as the practices are concerned. And that's why the standard treatment guidelines are issued from time to time, which we all people who follow a particular specialty, we have to follow them up. And that's why once people work on it, there will be evidence-based consensus is there, and then that's how the standard treatment guidelines are issued. So I can only see, the partogram which first came way back in 1954. We only came to know about it, that there is something, action has to be there. If there is, you go on the right hand side of the alert line, there has to be referral. And if you go on the right hand side of the action line, then it is emergency. I think, many changes have taken place, and what I could see between 2018 to 2020, the guidelines which have been issued will definitely change the, thinking of all gynecologists. So it will going to take time. It's not that it is going to be easy for that. And the labor is very important. The concern in this time of the government of India is that maximum deaths take place because the right kind of services are not there during labor. And according to government of India, that small nursing homes, 3 to 5 bedded nursing homes, do badly than even government hospitals. So uniformity has to be there for us to see that everybody who's in labor, we must know exactly what is normal, when we have to act. And we are privileged today that we have Dr. Renu Mishra to guide us also how to monitor the fetus during labor. We could not have a better person than her. She has written a book on as far as the monitoring of the electronic fetal monitoring is concerned. So I think she will be the best person. She has seen, again, last 35 to 40 years in this particular specialty. She has seen so many changes happening. And with her wisdom, she is going to guide us on that particular thing also. So I say we start with Dr. Meenakshi. Deepti is here, or you will speak about Meenakshi also? Deepti? Meenakshi, you will speak about Deepti also?
Dr. Deepti is not there. Yes, ma'am.
अच्छा तो आप पहले present कर लीजिए. So Dr.
Yes,
Meenakshi is going to unfold the surprise today to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity to present the WHO Labor Care Guide User's Manual, which is based on the 2018 WHO guidelines about the intrapartum care. As we know that more than 30% of the maternal deaths and 50% of majority in low resource settings, which is preventable by timely intervention. More than the antenatal and the postnatal care, it is the care during labor childbirth that reduces stillbirth, maternal and newborn deaths. WHO in 2018 published a consolidated set of recommendations.
Your internet is a problem, Meenakshi. You have to repeat again.
Okay. WHO in 2018 published a consolidated set of recommendations on intrapartum care for a positive childbirth experience with effective labor and childbirth practices and avoidance of ineffective practices. The healthcare personnel can support the woman physical, emotional, psychological outcomes, themselves and their babies and their families. The WHO 2018 recommendation basically covered the care throughout the labor, first stage, second stage, third stage, care of newborn and care of women after birth. So the labor care guide objective is basically the manual has been developed to help the healthcare personnel who can take care of the women during labor, childbirth to successfully use the labor care guide. The primary target audience is skilled health personnel directly providing the labor and childbirth care in all settings. It can be midwives, general practitioners, obstetricians, even NGO and professional societies involved in planning and management of the maternal and child health services. And the LCG, Labor Care Guide, should be used for women with low-risk pregnancies only. Women at high risk of developing labor complications require additional specialized monitoring and care. So when should the Labor Care Guide be initiated? It should be initiated in the active dilatation regardless of her parity and the membrane status. Labor care guide should not be initiated latent phase of the labor, but it is expected that women and the babies are monitored and receive labor care and support during latent phase. The labor care guide is designed to be used for all births in health facilities, in primary, secondary, and tertiary care settings. And in lower level facilities, if the woman is giving birth, they should be referred timely to a higher care center whenever any complications develop. So the principal aim of the labor care guide is to guide the monitoring and documentation of the well-being of the mother, guide the skilled health personnel to offer the support care to ensure a positive childbirth experience for the woman, and also to assist the skilled health personnel promptly identify and address the emerging labor complications by providing the use of interventions in labor and support audit and quality improvement of labor management. So basically, the labor care manual, it replaces the partogram. Basically, a one-page document which is there, basically is divided into 7 sections. And it does not have an alert line or action line which was there in the previous partograph. In fact, it has an alert column over here. So the 7 sections are basically identify the information, labor characteristics and admission, supportive care, care of the newborn, care of women, the progress of the labor, medications received, and the shared decision making, which is based on the observations. So section 1 basically informs includes the identification with the name, the parity, the labor onset, whether it was spontaneous or and it was the date of onset of the labor, the membranes ruptured, and the time and the date at which time the membranes ruptured need to be documented, and any risk factors which is part to this labor needs to be indicated over here. This is the time, basically the duration of active first stage of labor according to the recent WHO 18 guideline is basically of 12 hours in the primary gravida. So the hourly monitoring is 12 hours in the active first stage and 3 hours in the second stage, where the time is to be recorded along with the hours which indicate the hours since the onset of the labor stage in this patient. Section 2 involves the supportive care, which gives the information about the companion, whether the labor companion is present or not, whether there is a pain relief or not, oral fluid patient is receiving or not, posture, whether she is in a supine position. These are the alert parameters. If these are present, if there is no labor companion, there is no pain relief, then there is no oral fluid patient is taking, and the patient is lying in supine position, this alerts the healthcare provider to rectify the problem and provide support to the laboring woman. Section 3 includes the monitoring for the baby, the baseline fetal heart rate. Alert is if it is less than 110 or more than 160, fetal heart deceleration. If it is late deceleration, is mentioned as L. Amniotic fluid membranes, if there is a meconium is present, or if there is a blood stain like a fetal position, if it's a posterior position or a transposition, caput is there or not. So all these parameters need to be seen. The alert column for the care of the woman in labor is basically the pulse. If it is less than 60 or more than 120, systolic BP, less than 80 or more than 140, diastolic BP more than 90, temperature if hypothermia or hyperthermia, or urine if there is proteins or acetone present. So these alerts the healthcare provider, and whenever the patient has these parameters, the markings in the chart should be encircled in red. And this is the section 5 deals with the labor progress, the contractions per 10 minutes, whether it's less than 2 contractions or more than 5 contractions in 10 minutes, the duration of contraction if it is less than 20 or more than 60. The cervical dilatation has to be plotted. Now the concept of 1 centimeter per hour dilatation in primary and 1.5 centimeters per hour in multi is not there. It depends on the dilatation and the alert column refers to the time beyond which if the patient stays at the same dilatation, that should alert the healthcare provider and take necessary action. So if a person is presenting at 5 centimeters dilated and if she stays at that for more than 6 hours, that is an alert for that patient. So it varies from the dilatation at different points, 9 centimeters, 2 hours, 8 centimeters, 2.5 hours, 7 centimeters is 3 hours, 6 centimeters, 5 hours, and 5 centimeters, 6 hours. The descent is plotted as 0 in the respective column. The vacant dilatation is plotted as an X in that particular respective column. Descent is by the per fifth of the abdominal palpation of the descent of the head. That is being monitored over here. There is no alert indicator for this observation. Then the section 6 includes the medications given to the patient, and section 7 is the assessment and the plan of the patient which is being taken. And each observation need to be initialed by the healthcare provider. Whoever is looking after and noting the observation need to put the signature over here. These are the various abbreviations which I will go in detail to basically mark in the to document the proper technique of the observation in the document. How the time should be recorded in the labor care guide. A patient who is presenting at 6:30 is written at 6:30, then an hourly till the patient is fully dilated. So the patient becomes fully dilated at 12:30. Further recordings are shifted to the second stage column, and every 15 minutes, patient should be monitored over there in the second stage. These are the various abbreviations which are basically used. Ruptured membranes, if the timing is not known, we mark unknown. If the membrane ruptured is known, then we record the time and the hour. Companionship, yes, no, declines. Pain relief, yes, no, or declines, and it is D. Fluid, yes, no, or the movement declines, and the posture is supine or mobile. It can be any position except supine. Fetal heart decelerations can be documented as N is for no decelerations, E for early, L for late, and B for variable decelerations. Amniotic fluid for intact membranes, right eye. C for membranes, it's clear lighter. M is for meconium stained fluid, whether it is thick meconium or thin meconium. According to the grade, it is marked at plus, 2 plus, 3 plus. And blood, if it is present, has to be marked with blood. B. Fetal position, any occiput anterior position is marked as A, any occiput posterior or transverse is marked as P and T respectively, and P and T are alert indicators. Caput, if it is not present, it is marked as 0. Otherwise, it is marked, then it is according to the grade, it's graded as 2 plus, 3 plus. Molding also, if the sutures are opposed, it's 1 plus. If sutures overlap but reducible, it's 2 plus. And sutures over and not reducible, it's 3 plus. Urine and acetones are marked according to the traces of albumin and the acetone, and graded according to the grade on the scale. So how to basically now enter the documentation patient who presents to us in labor. This is a guide, and this is an index case they have taken. Basically, they have taken a low-risk patient, Mary Jane, who presented on June 7, 2020, presented at time 6 o'clock in the morning and experienced a leakage of fluid for the last 1 hour. Additional age is 38 weeks. It's a fourth pregnancy. She had 2 term and had a miscarriage. She is taking oral treatment to anemia. The midwife in charge basically observes the patient and records that she has regular contractions of every 10 minutes and 5 centimeter dilatation and ruptured membrane. This the patient becomes, and how it is recorded. This is important. She is recorded as name Mary Jane Williams, parity 2, spontaneous onset of labor, presented on this date. She presented at 6 o'clock, but the membrane ruptured an hour earlier. The time is recorded as 5. She has a history of stillbirth anemia. So now how to record the next section, whether the supportive care. Companion, if it is present, it's yes. No, if it is not present, the woman declines. Alert is for no. For companion, pain relief, and oral fluid. And then you have to provide the appropriate relief to the patient. If there is a companion, ask for the companion. If there's no pain relief offer an epidural analgesia or offer an sedation, parenteral, basically analgesic, fentanyl, diamorphine, or pethidine to the patient. And if the patient is not taking orally, encourages to take an oral fluid. So all these things has to be documented in the this document, labor care guide. So this is marked as companion is not there. There's no pain relief at that time when she came, and patient midwife has given the supportive care, asked for a companion, and now at 7 o'clock patient is comfortable. She is had a companion. She had a pain relief, oral fluid. She is accepting, but posture she is supplied. Then the healthcare provider will ask her to move and make her posture to be mobile. So similarly, how to record in the second section, basically the baseline fetal heart, we should record for 1 minute, auscultate for 30 seconds at least after the contraction has uterine contraction. And if it is less than 110 or more than 160, we should alert the senior healthcare provider because it amounts to the fetal distress. And accordingly, we need to take into consideration the maternal heart rate also. And we must listen to the fetal heart rate for minimum of 1 minute and auscultate during contractions for 30 seconds after the contraction. And look for decelerations, whether they are early or late. Very low heart rate in absence of contractions or persisting after contraction is suggestive of fetal distress. And so the senior healthcare provider should be alerted and appropriate local guidelines should be managed accordingly. So membrane status, if it's intact membrane, failure membrane, I have already told, alerts are for meconium and blood, and senior healthcare providers should be alerted. So in this case, as the patient has been examined and monitored further, I will not go into the detail of this. I will just go to on the record how it has been entered. So a baseline fetal heart has been recorded correctly. Fetal heart deceleration, she had a variable deceleration at 7 o'clock. Fluid was lighter was clear, fetal position was posterior, and there was no caput or molding. So how to proceed for the maternal parameters documentation? We have to monitor the pulse, systolic BP, diastolic BP, the alert we have to look for, and accordingly we have to take the actions. We have to record the temperature and the urine, and accordingly we have to alert the senior healthcare provider if any of the alert parameters are there. So in the same patient, she had a pulse rate of 88 with a BP of 120 by 80. Temperature is there. She passed urine at admission without protein acetone. And the clinical women parameters are normal. Reassess after 4 hours. Then the recordings are taken at after 4 hours, and these are recorded over here. So the systolic blood pressure and the pulse are being recorded 88, 120 by 80 like this, and temperature is being recorded over here. And the protein and acetone recorded. So the next, basically the section is a maternal progress of labor. Basically, we have to monitor. For that, contractions per minute are recorded. And alert, we all know, if it is less than 2 or more than 5 contractions in 10 minutes, lasting for less than 20 seconds or more than 60, appropriate actions has to be taken. And here I have told already in detail how vital dilatation and what is the alert for each dilatation. And for second stage of labor, the alert is at 3 hours in a nulliparous woman and at 2 hours in a multiparous woman. So they should deliver within 3 hours in a pliny and more than 2 hours in multipara. And the descent we plot by per fifth palpable on the abdomen, and we should monitor progress of labor every 4 hours. During the second stage, we should take into account the woman's behavior and effectiveness pushing and should be documented about the baby's position and well-being when deciding the time of descent. So this is the observations which has been recorded. Timely progress of labor observations has been recorded by the midwife, and how it is reflected in this card we will see in this portion. So the contractions are more than recorded 3 contractions, 4 contractions over here in 10 minutes, lasting for 40 to 45 seconds. This is done after every half hourly. With an examination, she was 5 centimeters on admission. After 4 hours, she became 8 centimeters. Then she became 10 centimeters. And as now she is fully dilated, so the observation will now shift to the second stage, where the contractions recorded, the duration of contraction recorded, and P is for when the patient starts pushing. The descent of head is recorded over here, like it was 4/5 palpable, then 3/5 palpable, and subsequently it has been plotted as 0. In the previous slide, I will like everyone to mention over here, the second stage, all the other parameters were continuously being recorded at the respective time in the second stage. So how to complete the section 6 of labor care guide? Is the oxytocin currently being administered to the woman? And is for no, if yes, then we have to record in units per liter and drops per minute. And when oxytocin is used, we have to record the amount being administered every 60 minutes. Is the woman receiving any medication? Then that has to be documented in the respective column. And if the woman is on IV fluid, that also has to be documented. So, and the assessment and the plan, according to any other observation which a healthcare provider notes during the progress of labor, then has to be recorded in the respective column. And the plan can be a continuation of the routine monitoring if nothing abnormal has been recorded, prescription of any diagnostic test, augmentation of labor with oxytocin infusion, procedures ARM, or assisted birth with vacuum forceps or a cesarean accordingly has to be documented. So Mary Jane has had a normal progress of labor and childbirth, and she was encouraged to walk and to have a companion as present, and clinical parameters remained within normal thresholds. Consequently, additional interventions were required. So this was the case, and how it is recorded is over here in this portion. Like oxytocin was not given. If it had been given, it would be recorded like a unit per liter and drops per minute. Medicine not required. IV fluids were not required. Assessment was pain relief required, so it was provided. The normal progress, pain relief required was provided to the patient by relaxation techniques, and then offer companionship. These were the plans that were done at that time, and they were being noted over here. All the observations are being signed at the bottom of the column in the initials column. And similarly, in the second stage, the same documentation needs to be carried out. So just a brief overview of the WHO labor guidelines in 2018. Basically, the key recommendations are the essential physical resources with a competent and motivated staff, should provide a respectful labor and childbirth care, emotional support from a companion of choice, which is being highlighted in this WHO guideline, effective communication by the staff, pain relief strategies, regular labor monitoring, documentation of events, and audit the feedback, oral fluid intake, mobility in the labor room, and birth position of choice should be increased. Pre-established referral plan should be started, and continuity of care with referral. Further additional care required needs to be provided if it is in the tertiary setup. The definition of the first stage and active stage is a marked variation from the previous definition. Latent first stage is any dilatation up to 5 centimeters for first as well as subsequent labors. Even primary or multi-latent first stage is basically set till the dilatation of 5 centimeters. Beyond that, the patient enters into active first stage from 5 centimeters until full dilatation for the as well as the subsequent labors. Standard duration of latent first stage has not been established because it varies widely from one woman to another. However, the active first stage from 5 centimeters to full dilatation should not extend beyond 12 hours in first labors and usually does not extend beyond 10 hours in subsequent labors. Now the guidelines regarding the care during labor, routine clinical polarimetry on admission in labor is not recommended for healthy pregnant women. Routine CTG is not recommended. Intermittent auscultation of the fetal heart rate with either a Doppler ultrasound device or a Pinard fetal stethoscope is recommended for healthy pregnant women in labor. Routine perineal hair shaving and enemas are not recommended. For vaginal examination is recommended at 4-hourly interval for assessment in low-risk women in active first stage. Epidural analgesia is recommended for healthy pregnant women requesting pain relief during labor depending on the woman's preference. Parenteral opioids like fentanyl, diamorphine, and Adderall are recommended options for healthy pregnant women who are request any pain relief during labor. Relaxation techniques, progressive muscle relaxation, breathing, music, mindfulness, all are recommended as per the woman's preferences. Pain relief for preventing delay and reduce the use of augmentation of labor is not recommended. Routine vaginal cleaning with chlorhexidine during labor for the purpose of preventing infectious morbidities is not recommended. The use of amniotomy alone for prevention of delay in labor is not recommended. The use of early amniotomy with early oxytocin augmentation for prevention of delay in labor is also not recommended. The use of oxytocin and antispasmodics for prevention of delay in labor in women receiving epidural analgesia is not recommended. So the second stage is the period of time with full dilatation during this delivery occurs. It should be less than 3 hours in primary and 2 hours in multi. For women in second stage, the techniques to reduce the perineal trauma and facilitate spontaneous birth include perineal massages, warm compresses, and hands-on guarding are recommended. Routine liberal use of episiotomy is not recommended. Application of manual fundal pressure is not recommended. The use of Introtonics for prevention of postpartum hemorrhage is recommended for all births. Oxytocin 10 units IM or infusion is recommended. Drugs for preventing PPH, where it is not available, misoprostol 600 micrograms or a combination of oxytocin and ergometrin are recommended. Delayed umbilical cord clamping, not earlier than 1 minute after birth, is recommended for improved maternal and infant health and nutrition outcomes. Postnatal care, routine antibiotic prophylaxis is not recommended for women with uncomplicated vaginal birth. All postpartum women should have regular assessment of vaginal bleeding, uterine contraction, fundal height, temperature, heart rate, routinely during the first 24 hours, starting from first hour after birth. And if everything are normal, then the blood pressure and vitals should be taken 6 hourly. Urine void should be documented within 6 hours. After an uncomplicated vaginal birth in a healthcare facility, healthy mothers and newborns should receive care if necessary for at least 24 hours after birth. Thank you. This is just in short about the WHO guidelines. I will share the screen.
Absolutely wonderful. Before I make any comment, I have a panel of experts are here. At the outset, we are blessed to have Dr. Renu Mishra with us. She is alumni of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. She was on faculty there, and she heads the chair in Sri Ram Bhartiya Hospital, including the IVF center of that particular place. We have another person, Dr. Divya Pandey. She's an associate professor at Safdarjung Hospital and Associated Medical College. Again, she is a bright doctor. She has held many positions wherever the Safdarjung had taken a lead, but she has got many awards from the Foxy Kodian Award, Dr. Shanti Infertility Award. Many awards have been there. But I was impressed when I heard her talking about labor. Divya Pandey is here, and she will have a formal talk on the 5th of next month. We have another bright person, Dr. Anita Rajoria. She heads the government hospital in West Delhi, and she also has been a greater part is involved in Lakshya training to her staff and things like that. Very active member of DGF and AOGD and Foxy. So I first will ask Dr. Meenakshi herself. She's gone through this particular thing. She's been trained at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. What does she find different in this particular thing before I take a comments from the experts?
This basically is promoting more of the expectant labor management rather than the accelerated labor management, which earlier we used to follow. Early ARM, early oxytocin to be avoided. We should be having a watchful expectancy for the laboring patient to achieve a normal birth.
Right. It is the overaction harms of our patients. So I think we have a new categorization of a lower risk and high risk, and a people who belong to high risk. We should see to it that our hands and mind does not work extra. I will take a comment here of Anita Rajoria because she has been involved, she has been trained well, and she's been involved in the last 2 years. What is her personal experience in the hospital about as far as this things are concerned? Dr. Anita Rajoria.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. In Lakshya program, initially we had introduced this simplified WHO partogram. Actually, it is based on this proposition that every female has 1 centimeter per hour dilatation. In fact, it is not. Ma'am, you have to
pin कर दीजिए तो बड़े स्क्रीन में आ जाएंगे.
So initially, this simplified partogram was was introduced by WHO based on proposition that the female dilates 1 centimeter per hour in labor, which is actually not. So thereby this modification of WHO labor care guide is more, realistic, because it doesn't show that kind of graph. And you have to mention the time, etc. in numerical values, and alert values are also there, which is very important. As Meenakshi had shown in her graph, if any particular value is touching alert mark, it is to be highlighted by a circle in red. So still, this WHO labor is awaiting introduction in Lakshya program. We are still following the initial partogram, ma'am, but this is a very good alternative for ensuring quality-based care for laboring women, and it has definitely special emphasis on ensuring safety and avoiding unnecessary interventions, as Shada ma'am has already highlighted, and it highlights supporting care to a great extent. So this is very, very important, and there are so many variables which have been added. You can add a few of variables as per your labor room protocol, but you should try not to delete the important points in this so that it will harm the laboring women. So I think it's a very good alternative, and we must try to follow this in our clinical practice. And before
Yes, I also found this was wonderful, and it gives a very tip at every stage. As far as the mother's monitors are concerned, right from the pulse, the fetal heart rate, the blood pressure, when it is alert, it is very clearly outlined. We will take one expert comment from Dr. Divya Pandey. She has presented it, and she has taken a charge in Safdarjung Hospital that she's going to try out. They have 2 labor rooms. One labor room, they're going to just do this particular activity, and the second labor room, it will be WHO activity will be there. And after some time, they'll be able to compare and make a recommendation. Dr. Divya Pandey, you want to say something on this, because you have a full talk on the 5th. So whatever you feel is out of this particular WHO partogram and your WHO suggestion on the labor guidelines, what is your views of?
Ma'am, the best thing which impressed me about this labor care guide is the, they are individualizing the labor, and they are making each labor a positive experience for the woman. That is the best thing I like about this labor care guide. But to what extent we will be able to apply at our center, because ours is a very busy center, because we are allowing a lot more time compared to the previous partogram here. So how much will it be feasible at our center? I really don't know. We will be comparing our results, and then I would let you know about that. But it's good we are not interfering.
Everything is evidence based. When the WHO speaks, it's a very soft language. You do it. Otherwise, they will make you do it. Am I clear? So there is no choice. आपको sooner or later इसको follow ही करना पड़ेगा. I will take a very senior comment. We can find Dr. Pushpa Chandra. We'll take a comment, but I will ask Dr. Renu Mishra. What do you see the future of it? Whatever, Meenakshi has presented it to you. Doctor, you unmute yourself. Dr. Renu Mishra.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I really think that the essence of the new labor guidelines, it's all started from the contemporary labor patterns published in 2010 by Zhang, which was an NIH-funded study. And people realize that women now are older, heavier, sedentary, and it takes much longer to go through labor. And we cannot go by those 1 centimeter action alert lines, which we used to have earlier. And the other very important message that all the guidelines now give is to go back to nature. Let women go through labor naturally. Let them take their own time. Everybody is different. Let them have natural postures rather than being tied to the bed and not allowing let them eat, let them drink. Don't make it such a medical, like a torture rather than having, it is painful, but still to whatever extent it can be, I don't know whether I can say pleasurable, but to make the labor much more tolerable, I should say. So I think that is the essence, that we should be going back to nature. People are making things in their labor room so that the women can stand and push in a squatting position, and so that it's easier to deliver. So we're just going back to nature. Less of medical interference, only when we are required. We should be in a supervisory role rather than in a dictatorial role.
I think I appreciate your comments about this. Dr. Pushpa Chandra, you want to make any comment? You have been one of the very successful obstetrician, and all VIP personalities have delivered in your nursing home. Do you have any comment about this particular labor policy advocated by WHO? Dr. Pushpa Chandra. Madam is not here for comments, but Divya, do you want to throw something more light on it? Divya, Dr. Anita Rajoria.
Actually, ma'am, this labor care guide has given us a provision also that you implement it for a short period, then get feedback from the people who are carrying out this. So what roadblocks they have found, what were the obstacles they observed. So then you can modify it accordingly. So that much liberty this labor care guide has given us. And they have given us this provision that we can slightly modify it for the benefit of our users, because Divya is working in a very high workload hospital. So this filling will take definitely more time than clinical record. And they have clearly said that there is no need of duplication of records. If you are, some variable is being entered in clinical record, then you need not enter in it. But no compromise should be made in patient care if you are deleting any. You have to ensure that safety of laboring women is not compromised. Divya wants to say something.
Dr. Divya, you
Yes,
have been
ma'am.
now obstetric practice. You are there almost 25 years. What do you say as a gynecologist or obstetrician? What is your views about it? Is it possible? Is it not possible?
Ma'am, at first glance, when I was given the charge, I felt it is actually, it wouldn't be possible at our setting. But then, we had a series of meetings with all our senior faculty members we started in January, and it took around 2 months to finalize a protocol for our labor rooms. And then we have identified, some senior residents. We have made a team. For last 2 weeks, I am training them. Daily, I am taking their classes. And I think when we identify team leaders, we can reach our goals. And we have also kept a provision of getting the feedbacks from them, what actual problems they will be facing when they are, applying this labor care guide. So we might come with certain improvement strategies also. So let us do it and then come to a final verdict.
Can I just say something?
आज आप सभी लोगों को खाली मुखड़ा दिखाया गया है. There will be another session on the 5th of March. Please note it again. At that time, Divya Pandey is going to make a presentation. तो आज आप थोड़ा सा swallow करो what Meenakshi ने बताया. I will see to it the recording. Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
I was just going to say to Dr. Divya, the success lies in repeated training, and I think the nurses should be a part of this training, not just
absolutely.
Exactly, ma'am. We have started with our residents. We will be shortly training our nurses also.
Take the nurses with you. Don't separate nurses and residents. They are
Quite well taken, ma'am.
I have a great regards for nurses because I have learned midwifery initially during my MBBS days by the nurses only. And I think, they have the patience and they are passionate about things. And you look at the Middle East, you look at United Kingdom, everywhere the job is done beautifully by nurses. The doctors only come here and there. So people who are listening and think there will be another detailed discussion. It will be brought to, we'll bring Dr. Divya Pandey with detailed presentation, and she's going to take you a little further extension what Dr. Meenakshi has said. So we are going to stop it here and we are going to come to the second part of our